It all began in the early 1600s, when small groups of English settlers crossed the Atlantic, driven by dreams of new opportunities and freedom. They arrived on the shores of a vast, untamed land, unfamiliar and often unforgiving. Jamestown, established in 1607, became the first permanent English settlement in what would become the United States. Life was brutal. Disease, famine, and conflict with the Native American tribes tested the settlers' resilience every day. Leaders like Captain John Smith and early visionaries learned that survival required both diplomacy and toughness. Slowly, settlements grew, trading posts flourished, and towns emerged along the eastern coast. By the mid-1600s, 13 colonies had been established, each with its own character. The New England colonies focused on religion and community, the Middle colonies thrived on trade and diversity, and the Southern colonies built economies around cash crops like tobacco and rice, relying heavily on enslaved African labor. The tension between freedom and exploitation became a defining feature of early America. As generations passed, a sense of identity distinct from England began to take root, setting the stage for an extraordinary upheaval. The 1700s were a century of growing ambition, frustration, and revolutionary ideas. Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke inspired colonists to question authority, advocating for rights and self-governance. British taxation policies, including the infamous Stamp Act and Tea Act, pushed the colonies toward defiance. In 1773, the Boston Tea Party became a bold statement of resistance, where protesters, dressed as Native Americans, dumped British tea into the harbor. War followed soon after. The Revolutionary War, beginning in 1775, was a struggle of both strategy and willpower. Leaders like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin emerged as icons of resilience and intellect. Though outnumbered and poorly equipped, the Continental Army fought with determination, relying on unconventional tactics, local militias, and the crucial support of allies like France. In 1781, at Yorktown, the British were finally defeated, and the United States of America was born. But independence brought new challenges. How would a fledgling nation govern itself? The Articles of Confederation proved weak, and debates over power, representation, and rights led to the Constitutional Convention of 1787. Out of these discussions emerged the U.S. Constitution, a blueprint balancing federal and state powers, ensuring a system of checks and balances, and guaranteeing citizens certain fundamental rights. This framework allowed America to survive its infancy and set a foundation for growth. The 19th century ushered in a period of expansion and transformation. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the nation's size, opening vast lands for settlers. People moved westward, building communities, railroads, and farms, often clashing with indigenous peoples whose lands were being taken. Trailblazers, pioneers, and immigrants ventured into these territories, motivated by opportunity, survival, and the dream of building something lasting. But expansion also deepened divisions. The question of slavery's morality and legality split the nation. Southern plantations relied heavily on enslaved labor, while northern states increasingly embraced abolitionist ideas. Tensions escalated until they erupted into the Civil War in 1861. Over 4 devastating years, families, communities, and armies were torn apart. Figures like Abraham Lincoln emerged, a leader determined to preserve the Union and end slavery. The Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 marked a pivotal moment in human rights, and the war ended in 1865 with the preservation of the United States. Yet the struggle for equality and justice had only begun. Reconstruction attempted to rebuild a divided nation. Freedmen's schools, new laws, and amendments sought to integrate formerly enslaved people into society. Industrialization rapidly transformed the economy. Factories, railroads, and urban centers expanded. Entrepreneurs like Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and Cornelius Vanderbilt created immense wealth, driving innovation and shaping modern capitalism. The nation became more connected, more efficient, and more powerful with each passing decade. The early 20th century tested America's resolve on a global scale. World War I and II thrust the United States onto the world stage, both militarily and politically. The country supplied troops, resources, and strategies that ultimately shaped global outcomes. The Great Depression of the 1930s challenged the nation's economy, yet Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs restored hope, creating jobs, infrastructure, and social security systems that would support generations to come. After World War II, America emerged as a global superpower. Its industries were intact, unlike war-torn Europe and Asia, and it had unmatched technological and military capabilities. Leaders like Harry Truman guided the country through Reconstruction abroad and the beginning of the Cold War, a decades-long struggle with the Soviet Union for global influence. The space race, nuclear advancements, and economic innovations reinforced America's prominence. Social changes at home also strengthened the nation's character. The civil rights movement, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, challenged injustice, demanding equality and reshaping the moral fabric of the country. Women gained more rights, immigrants contributed to a diverse cultural landscape, and the U.S. became a symbol of both freedom and opportunity worldwide. By the late 20th century, America was not just a military and economic power, it was a cultural superpower. Hollywood movies, global media, technology, and brands became part of everyday life across continents. Silicon Valley innovators like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates pushed the boundaries of technology, making the U.S. central to the digital age. Politically, America influenced international institutions, trade agreements, and diplomacy, solidifying its position as a superpower. Entering the 21st century, America faced new challenges: terrorism, climate change, pandemics, and political polarization. Yet the core spirit of innovation, debate, and resilience remained. The journey from Jamestown settlers to a global superpower had been defined by exploration, conflict, leadership, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of a vision, an idea that one land of colonies could grow into a nation shaping the entire world. From hardship and revolution to innovation and influence, America's story is a testament to the power of determination, courage, and collective ambition. It is a tale not just of battles and leaders, but of ordinary people whose lives, labor, and dreams forged a nation. In over 423 years, the United States transformed from a fragile settlement on the Atlantic coast to a superpower that continues to leave an indelible mark on the world stage.